I think that's so dope that you made notes. And front to back page of notes. That's you're a college student right now.
You know, this is actually my second draft of notes.
Oh my gosh. So, is it recorded already?
Yeah.
I don't know if you put it, but one time we were hanging out, Huddy, his lady, me, I think that was it. But we were hanging out, and I don't know if you know, Huddy didn't go to college.
Okay.
I went to college.
Huddy did like 2 or 3 classes.
Cool.
I have like 7 credits.
So, Tessa would say something about like going to the professor office hours or something, and Huddy was like, "What?" And she was like, "You wouldn't understand. You didn't go to college." When it came out, I'm like, "Yeah, you don't fucking get this." So now every time we say anything, it's like, "Oh, you have notes." That did you hear him? He was just like, "Oh yeah, you went to college and stuff." Yeah, you never took notes, dude. So you didn't go to college, dude.
Yeah,
you don't know.
I took English as a second language. I crushed that class. Hello guys, welcome back to Podcast Unbroken. Today's episode 10, I want to say.
10?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
We're getting up there.
Congrats.
I heard the lucky milestone to pass is 13.
Interesting.
Most podcasts off at episode 13.
It's not us, dude. We're
Just skip
strong.
13, go straight to 14.
So say again?
Skip 13, just go
Yeah,
straight
exactly. Well, luckily we have more than 200 members, so it should be easy to get. Yeah, we should find at least 200 episodes.
Every single person at the gym. They're like, I don't even work out here anymore.
Yeah, I'm a tax broker. You know, that's what I do. So fitness helps me with that.
Yeah.
But today we have Megan Hinshaw on the show with us. So I wanted to get out of the way already.
Yes.
You are Chris Hinshaw's daughter. I feel like you don't like that to be brought up.
No, I don't care at all. I think it's entertaining to me that people think my dad's. My dad is a big deal theoretically, right? But he's still my dad, and like,
He's just your dad.
Yeah, exactly. And so people are always like, "How is like?" Shauna asked me the other day. She's like, "How is like? What's it like your dad being your dad?" It's like he makes dad jokes. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
He tells me to brush my fucking teeth.
Right.
And
took me to soccer practice and like just did. So it was cool though, because he didn't do CrossFit his whole life, and he was always an athlete, and he was a triathlete, and he was an incredible runner, biker, swimmer his whole life. And after my parents got divorced, and he talks about this in his seminar, that he kind of refound exercise and working out, and he would go out in the middle of the night after he put the 3 of us to bed, me and my siblings, and he would just try to run around the block. And like for a long time he couldn't even do that because he just had gotten so far away from working out, and eventually he worked his way back up, and he started going to the CrossFit gym in Santa Cruz, like the first ever, and he would work out there, and we lived an hour and a half from Santa Cruz, and he would drive there a couple times a week just to work out.
crap.
And that's where he met Jason Khalipa.
Who?
And Jason Khalipa.
I've never heard of him.
Mm-hmm. And my dad was just trying to get. I remember it's so funny. He took down my swing in my front yard on our big tree, and he put up muscle up rings. And I remember him trying to get muscle ups, and I was in high school, and I couldn't care less. And he would come in with these massive wounds on his wrists, and I remember the day he finally got them, and he would just do them in the front yard.
That's hilarious.
And then that's when Jason asked him to help him out with his endurance, and then it kind of exploded from there. But it was cool being able to watch him grow his brand from the ground up and kind of rebuild himself, and come back to working out after such a long time.
Right.
That's
That's
awesome.
freaking crazy.
So I just wanted to bring it up now in case if later on, like if anything we talk about relates to you being younger and your dad, like people can already know the correlation. Whereas like if someone's, because for example, you were coming here for like a month till I was like Hinshaw.
That name sounds
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah, or I'll wear a shirt that says Hinshaw on it, and there's a lot of like merch, or an aerobic capacity shirt or something like that, and people are like, Chris Hinshaw, Megan Hinshaw? I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of the same thing like at my other gym, where it was just like nobody really knew until everybody knew. But nobody treats me different.
Yeah.
I don't bring a lot to the table.
You do. You bring a lot. You're on our podcast today. You can talk about cool stuff.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise, we're not going to even put this up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So. That's the nice thing. It's not live or anything.
That's true. Yeah, that would be way more stressful. Yeah, well, the other thing I can bring to the table is if I can introduce myself a little bit separately. I am graduating in about a week with my master's in social work. Thank you. So social work is pretty much... it's a lot different than a lot of people would think. It is a mental health professional field. I am a clinical student, so I'm the same as a psychologist, an LPCC, which is a licensed clinical counselor, a marriage and family therapist, things like that. So I am qualified to do individual therapy, family therapy, be a caseworker, go to court with you, foster care, adoptions, diagnose you, things like that.
Wow.
So today, hopefully I can help you guys understand maybe a little bit more about how exercise impacts our brain, and we can go from there. My undergrad degrees are psychology and sociology, so I do have a little bit of that neuroscience background with the psych, things like that, human development.
After you graduate, is there anything that you have to do to that you are going to pursue?
Yeah.
For like certifications, etc.
Yeah. So for social work, you graduate with your MSW, your Master's in Social Work, and then to be licensed, it's another 3,000 hours of supervised clinical work underneath somebody that is licensed, so they can monitor your cases and make sure you're not,
screwing these people up.
Literally. And then it's another like 30 hours of continuing education credits on top of a law and ethics exam, making sure that you're not, do anything illegal with your clients or not reporting any kind of abuses or like violence or things like that. So there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of like auditing of licenses, and you can get your license revoked. Same as a doctor.
Okay.
Things like that.
That's pretty interesting. Now, can you prescribe things to people currently?
No. So my field as a social worker, same with all of those kinds of careers that I said before, we don't prescribe medication. That would be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And that is more of a medical license. Same with like a nurse practitioner or like a doctor. We're not that at that level.
So I mean more of like, can you prescribe somebody to exercise or to do things like in that realm of things, like, hey, maybe you should try this or exercise this much, see if this affects anything. Can you do that?
I absolutely can, and it really depends on the kind of practice modality you use when you do what kind of therapy. So there's tons of different theories in social work, and wherever you practice under, some of them are more goal-oriented, some of them are more solution-focused than others. So it also depends on why you're coming in. So if you came in with behavioral, like my clients right now are youth who are on probation. And a lot of that is just completing the terms of their probation. And so it's like, hey, I need you to do community service, I need you to do these hours, I need you to write this essay. But if you came in and you said, hey, I really want to stop fighting with my dad, what are some things that I can do on that? I could give you specific things and you would let me know how those are working, if they're not working.
Okay.
But typically how it works is you are the expert on yourself.
Okay.
And you tell me what has worked and what hasn't worked, and then we go from there. I'm not really supposed to tell you what to do because nobody likes being told what to do. And as soon as I start saying, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, people are like, I'm out, I'm not doing this. So it's really kind of, a therapist is really almost a mirror of things maybe that you know about yourself or don't know about yourself, and you're really hearing it from another person who is objective, non-judgmental, and can really kind of reflect just yourself back at you, and you can be like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. That's a good point. Rephrasing things. So much of social work and therapy is just saying exactly what you said to me, just in different words.
Yeah.
And so you could be like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I will try that.
Right.
Wow, you're a genius, Megan. You're just repeating back what we said in really different verbiage. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit off topic before we get into what's on your paper, but do you have to practice your face?
Yeah.
So because I feel like a lot of people, when you say it's not judgmental, objective, I feel like a lot of people can read your expressions before you even say anything.
Yes.
So how often do you practice? Do you talk to friends and try to keep a poker face?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a fine line too, because I am a person. I'm not. You don't want to talk to a brick wall. If you wanted to do that, you could, right?
Plenty of people in downtown San Diego do that.
Absolutely. Probably need a therapist. As a student, we do a lot of role plays and things like that, so I'll work with people in class. There's also the option to film some sessions with clients if they'll let you. Typically, the camera would just be on me and not on them, and I would review it with my therapist, with my supervisor in supervision that we have individually. Like I said, someone above me that's licensed. But yeah, working on like body language, facial expressions, reactions, eye contact. Sometimes eye contact makes people nervous. I do this thing where I look away when I'm thinking.
You wear sunglasses.
Right, and so it really depends on the person. And sometimes calling attention to it, like, hey, I sometimes react, or like if I'm looking up, I'm not rolling my eyes, and like maybe just mentioning it, like, hey, I look away. That's not because I'm not giving you my attention. It's just because I think better when I look this direction, you know, and like you got to be really careful because, you know, even having a water bottle, sometimes people think that's rude, or talking with your hands in some cultures is rude, and so distance in the room, like there's a lot of things that come into play when you do therapy with someone, and it really just, you're there for them, so you cater to their needs. So you call attention to it. If they don't like it, you stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
But no one's ever commented on my facial expressions.
Not yet, right?
Yeah.
Is it like something that's definitely gonna happen, or like what are some things that they tell you, like, look, it's not if, it's when?
Yeah, and it's also depends on the client, right? So I work with teenagers right now, so typically they don't say anything to me. You
They
know?
look like they're dumb. They're like, yeah, you're right.
Well, you're also like an authority figure to them, like especially when you're younger.
Yeah, and so I try to be direct, right? And the kids can smell bullshit from a mile away, right? And so you can't be some fake whatever. So sometimes I'll just be like, hey, like if you think if you don't like my activity and you don't like our intervention that we're working on, please tell me. And they'll be like, yeah, okay. I'll be like, are you actually gonna tell me though?
Yeah.
Because I want you to tell me it's stupid. Tell me why you think it's stupid, and then we're gonna pick a new one.
Absolutely,
next time.
yeah.
Because my ultimate message to them all the time is, I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
Exactly.
And
if I waste your time, we're not gonna get anything done. I'm lose, you know, and that sucks. I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I keep saying before the paper, but
That's fine.
so how did you start fitness? Why did you start fitness? How often have you been fitnessing?
Yeah. I started fitness, God, I don't know, like everybody else, doing soccer when I was a kid.
I didn't play soccer.
Did you play soccer?
I went to one practice and then a girl kicked me in the shin. This was like 5 years old and I had co-ed soccer.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after high school, I played a year because my dad was a part of the board of a soccer league, so I got to play for free. So I played like every single day and I got pretty decent.
Nice.
Played midfield. So.
That's great.
Thanks. I can work on your facial expressions. Jeez.
I'm not on the clock with you. I'm not getting paid.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm paying you.
Why did I Venmo you that $100?
For real. I started playing competitive sports, I guess theoretically, middle school, but in high school, I played on the volleyball team, the soccer team, I ran cross country, and I played on their lacrosse team while playing club soccer and club volleyball.
Damn, we didn't do shit, dude. You have a letterman's jacket just full of stuff?
I wish. No, I didn't have that. And then every once in a while, I would run triathlons with my dad, or 10Ks, things like that. He was stoked when I ended up signing up for cross country, which actually wasn't too bad. It's just, not my idea of a good time to go to high school for 8 hours and then go run 6 miles. Like, that's rough. But the team sports I really enjoyed. Stopped playing volleyball because I wasn't tall enough and I don't have any hops.
Yeah, you're so short. How tall are you?
5'9.5".
5'7".
Anyways.
And then, like I said, my dad launched his CrossFit kind of endeavor when I was in high school, but
and had you done CrossFit before?
No, and that was kind of the big thing, is a lot of people would always ask me like, oh, your dad's, such a CrossFit or whatever, you do CrossFit too. I'm like, no, I won't touch it with a 6-foot pole, because it was just always so intimidating to me, and I always thought I wasn't fit enough to do CrossFit, and I think, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but that's probably a mentality for a lot of people.
A lot of people.
It seems so intimidating from the outside, but I went through college just working out on my own, and when I came down here for graduate school, I knew there was something that I needed to get involved with, and I tried CrossFit.
Oh. Any sports in college?
No, I was vice president of my sorority.
We do.
And then I worked my way through school, so
Gotcha.
I was very busy. But I'll never be able to go back to anything other than like CrossFit.
CrossFit is life.
Yeah, I'll drink the Kool-Aid. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm absolutely like stuck. Yeah, I don't know. I tried working out at 24-hour fitness for a couple of years, like between undergrad and grad school, and like
You just can't even.
I probably lost muscle. It literally was such a waste of time. Yeah, and I've just made such great strides since I started CrossFit in the last 2 years, of just like seeing all of my scores improve. I feel like I PR all the time, and my form continues to get better.
Mm-hmm. Is the social aspect important to you as well, or not as important as continuing to progress, like fitness?
You know, I exercise because it makes me feel good,
Mm.
and I like to look good, and I like to have something outside of school and work. I wouldn't necessarily say it's. I like being in a room with people and working, you know, like doing a group fitness class. Like 24-hour fitness is insane. It's a bunch of people working out, but like no one's talking, nobody cares, things like that. There is definitely that community here. I don't know if that's the number one reason why I do CrossFit.
Gotcha.
You know, but it just brings more to the table than like a yoga class or a Pilates class.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What you can do here too. Class of Humanity. Sundays we have yoga.
Well, not Pilates, but yeah, yoga.
Yeah.
I'll take you through Pilates class. Let's do it. I'm in.
You certified?
I'll get certified.
It's called something different.
Like this video so we can pay for me to get my Pilates certification.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's how it works. All right. So you
right.
said you have a bunch of vocabulary first to kind of
I
break
do.
down.
We're gonna do vocabulary word speed round. She's gonna say the word, me and Huddy are gonna guess what it means.
Well, I only have a couple
Yeah.
words.
Okay.
Let's do this.
They're
Yeah, I'll get none of them.
maybe
It's okay.
less of vocab words and more like terms or ideas. So the first thing I wanted to run through you guys was the hand model of the brain. Do you know this?
Let's hear it, Huddy.
There's 3 parts to it.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't know it? I don't know it either. You could have won that one.
So this is good. I have taught this to kids. This is how they taught it to us. It works for my clients. It works for my clients' parents. It's a very basic model, but it's very understandable.
Okay.
And it comes into play. So putting your hand out like this, camera can see me. So this part of our arm is going to be our brainstem. Okay, so this is our
Right.
most ancient part of our brain, what's called kind of like our reptilian brain. That's going to be like our sleep, our hunger, our like immobilization, like you guys know like fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be up here. This part is our freeze. So like in some animals they just like play dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's that part because their brain is not as complex as human.
Weak.
Right.
Weak animals.
So then here when we fold our thumb in, this middle area is what's called our limbic system. This is our like emotion system. This is our regulation. That's our fight or flight. That's memory in our hippocampus, motivation, things like that. And then folding over, I guess this is kind of a hook grip, right?
Okay, now I remember it. Hook grip.
Yeah.
Hook grip is what?
This is our prefrontal cortex, so our forefingers. And so this is our most advanced part of our brain. This is what makes us most human. This is the last to develop. It's still developing, I think, until like 21 or 25 years old. This is decision making, impulse control, complex thought, thinking ahead. So that's why teenagers have such risky behavior because their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, and so they just
YOLO.
They just go. They don't
Literally,
understand
yeah.
and process repercussions and stuff.
exactly instant gratification, things like that. And so they often say, and this is also kind of our social engagement system. This is our communications and things like that. And so they say, have you ever heard like you flipped your lid? So that's literally flipping, and your prefrontal cortex goes offline, and then your pure emotion. So you're just like panic, fight or flight, I'm out, people get into fights,
Wow.
screaming, things like that.
Flip the lid.
That's not how that works. Cool?
Cool.
Okay. Next thing I want to cover with you guys is what is called our executive functioning. Executive functioning is also in the prefrontal cortex part of our brain, and that is that goal-oriented behavior, scheduling, planning, thinking ahead. And so you could think about that in terms of like writing an essay. If you have poor executive functioning, it's such a multi-step kind of process, thank you, that you couldn't even begin because there's so many steps. So you need to put your name on it, you need a title, you need a topic sentence, you need 3 body paragraphs, you need a conclusion. People that have poor executive functioning just aren't able to wrap their heads around
Yeah.
things like that.
It's like overwhelming.
Exactly. In simplistic terms. And then the final term is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is super interesting. It's basically how our brain grows and shrinks based off of what is presented to us and what is not given to us. And so our brain can atrophy if we're not given adequate food, or if there's too much stress, or if we're not challenged, or if we don't exercise our brain, things like that. We kind of lose abilities at the same time as if we can grow them when we are challenged and given opportunities and learn new things and try new stuff and things like that. So that's neuroplasticity. Cool?
Cool.
Great. Those are all my terms.
Okay.
Boom. Does neuroplasticity also deal with like people who lose the ability to do something, but they can pick it up really, really quickly? Or not sure.
Like, can you give me an example?
Like they haven't played the piano in 20 years, and then they come back, and then they can pick things up really, really quickly because it's already been developed, but it's just atrophied quite a bit. Or am I just thinking of something way different?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd use the term atrophy, but I think, you know, that would be our concrete memory, and that would kind of be in an area, part of our brain called like the hippocampus, and so that kind of like reserves stuff, and it doesn't ever go away. You know, it's like riding a bike. So we learn things in a sensitive period where we're picking up new things. It's like why learning a language when we're younger is so much easier, because our brain is developing. We're in this time where things are still molding and growing, and so when you learn a new thing, it concretes and then it saves it.
Gotcha.
Right? That's why you probably know your phone number from when you were growing up, like I do. It's just you just remember that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna say it. I do. Wow. When?
Is that the same one you have now? No, I had the same one since I was like 12.
What about your home phone from when you were a kid?
Oh. Yeah, I know it. Wow! Alright.
I might find it. Okay, so for today, we're talking about how the brain is impacted by exercise, right?
Yep.
From what you guys, well, I don't want to steal your podcast, but from what you guys know about exercising impacting the brain, what do we think? How do you think it relates to the
I'm
brain?
just gonna make us sound dumb right now.
No, I mean, you guys are very well educated on exercise, and I'm sure you have some opinions.
I mean, endorphins, mental clarity, like stress relief.
Makes me feel nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Confidence booster. Other than.
Except when you don't do anything for your deadlift in PR.
When you.
That makes me not feel good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we should work out together. We're got a different room.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely all true. Do you guys feel like there's a difference between like aerobic exercise versus anaerobic exercise in terms of like
How it affects the brain?
how it affects you?
Yeah, physically, but I don't know how it affects the brain really.
Yeah.
I just know that I enjoy one way more than the other.
That's because it like hurts your body, right? Not necessarily your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aerobic hurts my brain.
Yeah.
Anaerobic, I don't think about shit.
Heart and soul.
Yeah.
So from what research shows and from what I found online, definitely chronic physical activity improves like depression, cognitive functioning, quality of life, quality of sleep, things like that. It's also shown to reduce symptoms of Alzheimer's, Parkinson, depression, anxiety, things like that, ADHD in some kids, which are all things that, yes.
How about addiction?
Addiction as well. Yeah. I actually looked up some stuff about that, and they say like substance use, and in the DSM, which is like the kind of the diagnostic statistical manual, is like the Bible for diagnosing people. Mm-hmm. Gambling is under addictions too, and it also is proven to help with gambling.
Wow. I know I've had like a few members that I didn't know, but they before were having trouble with like alcoholism and substance abuse, and they said they traded in that for CrossFit. Yeah. And they like seek that high from physical activity and stuff, which is much healthier than, you know.
Absolutely. And there is a caveat to that though too, and this isn't necessarily a clinical diagnosis, but in terms of anorexia and bulimia, excessive exercise is found in like the diagnostic criteria. So like that usually goes hand in hand with anorexia and bulimia, which is negative. Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, for so many people, exercise is more of that like safer place. And I didn't find a lot of research in that it doesn't bring a lot of people, negative, any negativity or any like bad impulses and things like that. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. But in terms of children, there was a lot of information about how children gain a lot from frequent exercise in terms of sharing, coordinated play, learning new rules, working with others. It helped with their
coordination and
coordination.
their like
everything.
Self-efficacy, efficiency, and then they would perform better in class.
Yeah.
Their math, their reading, their writing, all of that would improve, which I thought was pretty spectacular.
What I think is crazy is how much research is out there saying how positive exercise is on kids and how it's like the first thing to be taken away.
Yeah.
I mean, we have plenty of teachers here who are like, yeah, we do PE once a week.
Yeah.
And it's like these kids are also going home and playing Fortnite and not going to exercise. And it's like, yeah, there's a reason they're fucking like this in their chair all day long. It's like, they're kids. They need to play and learn and move outside. But we take that away from them because, because tests are more important.
Right. Yeah.
Not the development.
And that's so much of what when I worked in a school last year was that, if you're feeling antsy and anxious in your seat, go for a walk. Go get a drink of water. Go get some air, get some sunshine. Literally, be outside for 5 minutes because it totally will change your mood. And people have a hard time wrapping their head around that, but it's so true. I mean, if you sat in your house, in your bedroom all day, if you just take a 10-minute walk around the block, you feel 100 times better.
Yeah.
And
people feel that when they come to the gym. They always post on their Instagram like, oh, I didn't want to come to the gym today, and then they're leaving here like, so glad I went to the gym, feel fucking awesome.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then in terms of older adults, there's so much information on improving of that executive functioning, which we talked about, goal-oriented behavior, planning, things like that, preventing that deterioration of the brain, quality of life, and then independence.
Yeah.
For a lot of older adults, independence.
In the sense of being able to do stuff on their own.
Right.
Not independence like I don't need no man. It's like independence like I can literally live by myself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, because the first thing to go, I think it's like 60% of their strength is like the first thing to go, and then it's then like flexibility. So if you can continue to develop like muscle development as you get older. So what we were told, I took like a gerontology class, and they told us like when your grandma or your aunt that's getting old asks you to help with the groceries, it's like make sure they're still carrying some, make sure that they're still getting up and like out of their chair, and if you see that they're having a hard time, it's like have them sit down again, have them stand up, because they think that as someone gets older they need more help, but in actuality they need to do more things on their own. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Otherwise they'll atrophy that much faster.
Yeah, because you guys have probably all experienced it, like, oh, that person's elderly, like, go help them. When it's like, no, they need to be able to tie their shoes. They need to be able to, like,
knock the cereal box out of their hand. Pick that shit up.
Yeah.
No, that is elder abuse, and it's frowned upon.
I mean, I didn't hit the lady, I hit the box.
Oh my gosh. That would just be a really funny YouTube video, like how to make grandma stronger. Yeah. She's like picking up something, you just knock that out of her hands, like, hamstring stretch, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Real quick to go on top of that, like we have an older, fitter, wiser class here, which is just a few like senior ladies that are like literally in their 60s, about to turn 70, and it's like they're doing like ring rows, they're doing like shoulder overhead, doing a bunch of different stuff.
They do
like,
everything. Yeah,
they get really frustrated. So I was like, man, I didn't do that good in this workout. Like these are really frustrating. They trick me out. Like they frustrate me. Like I'm like, don't worry about this. Like you are doing like literally. Probably 9 out of 10 ladies your age can't do anything you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it's so crazy. People that like, when I see someone's parents, they're like, my dad's like 50 or 60, and like, their dad
they
like...
already can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it makes me want to be healthy and functional for like, my kids and my grandkids, and like, be a role model of like, hey, yeah, when you get older, doesn't mean you just chill. Right. It's like, keep doing something, keep moving. At the end of the day, it's all it is, just moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick story. My grandparents, not healthy individuals, don't do much, have a lot of assistance, and then I have like my parents' really good friend. She's like 89 years old. She still walks 3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
She can literally do everything still. Toughest woman ever. But it's crazy because she's the type of person who is like, no, don't help me with that. I can do that. No, I don't want your help. I want to do it. Because she doesn't want to lose the function,
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So there's a couple things that you guys said that I wanted to share about. So a big thing that they tell us in therapy is don't do things for people, do things with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so people that do work with elderly folks, they come in, they say, hey, I need you to help me with this phone call, or I don't know how to do this. And it's not just doing the phone call for them with speakerphone, but then teaching them the methods to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing with kids or with anybody, right? Like I'm not gonna I'm going to teach you the movements. I'm going to teach you how to make the phone call. I'm going to teach you how to fill out the paperwork so you can do it on your own, right? And that's what independence is, right? And we know that also for anybody is that I feel more capable when I have knowledge, when I have information, when I have the ability, so I can go home and handle myself. If you never learned, then how are you ever going to be able to do it, right? The other thing that I wanted to mention is that there was information about working out for a long period of time creates some sort of reserves for you. And so if you worked out from 20 to 60 and then you slowly kind of tapered off, you still have some of those reserves of that cognitive functioning that preserved that brain growth and that strength and that neuroplasticity that does carry into older age. So people that do have a history of working out between even just, briefly in their life for 10 years, for 5 years, for 1 year, at least that built some sort of neurogenerative capacity that does carry with you. So the earlier you can start and the longer you can do it is beneficial, even if you don't do it forever.
Right.
I always thought that was really fascinating. My grandma's like that woman you described. She's kick ass and she does yoga 3 times a week. She walks, she swims, she has a personal trainer, and she's 82 and she we went to Hawaii and she's like, we're at the gym in the morning and she's like, let's have a plank contest. Should we not? And I remember one year we got in her long hallway and made a handstand contest. All the handstands. And it was just very much this is how we roll. And she's awesome. She's a killer. Yeah. It's cool.
That's a great role model.
Yeah, absolutely. I really have been trying to get her into CrossFit, but I think she's just very wary. But I mean, she's totally functional. She carries all of, we go to the farmer's market, she carries all of her bags, she unloads and loads the car, she does she does everything for herself. She lives by herself, and I worry about her, but I don't worry about her. She's totally capable. She can't hear for shit though.
It's like use or lose it at its finest, and it's so. That's so true with
that's
with
essentially
muscle
what neuroplasticity is. Yeah.
With your brain, they talk a lot about. I remember before I finished college, they were talking. All my teachers were like, "Hey, make sure you continue to read books and learn, or else, literally, you're not going to remember any of this. You're not going to be getting better, and you'll get dumber. It's you legit will."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick forever.
Now you're legit. Should keep reading more books.
And I know we talked a little bit about addiction and gambling, things like that. The other really cool thing that I wanted to share with you guys that I saw is that, so when we think about our limbic system and the emotions and the fight or flight, so that's a very basic thing that a lot of people know about, is when I go into panic, I'm either out of here or it's about to go down, right? And that's what's called our stress response system, right? Working out kind of replicates that. We're sweating, we have high blood pressure, we're hot, there's a lot going on, our brain is kind of firing all of these things. But when that is happening here, we are safe and we are in a good space and it's a positive environment, right? And so that allows us, when we are in that fight or flight, to react better. Because we have experienced those things before and it's not a foreign thing. And so when it comes down to it and something's, going wrong, maybe you're in public or maybe you're alone and something weird is happening, you are able to kind of de-escalate yourself and then make better choices from that. You don't just automatically sock the guy and then bail, right? You kind of know, okay, here's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty fascinating because it totally does kind of replicate that kind of panic attack feeling. I kind of think I'm dying all the time when I'm here. But in a good way,
But in reality, you're getting better at fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You need to fight, you'll be able to go down.
Right.
You'll process it, instead of just panicking.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on the other side of that too, because you're using sympathetic nervous system so much, you should be getting better at increased vagal tone so that your parasympathetic the nervous system can continue to be chill. It's time to rest and digest.
Yeah. Look at you.
Look at me. I promise. I went to college.
Wow, I'm so impressed.
Wow.
Vagal tone.
Aw. Dude, but Aria from music.
Yeah,
remember?
exactly. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing, dude.
In music.
In music.
Yeah, music creation was fun.
What else did I want to tell you guys about? Working out has shown to increase the gray matter growth in our brain. So gray matter are like the nerve cell bodies. It's about 40% of our brain responsible for activation, firing thoughts, basically our learning intelligence. And so they can do brain scans and basically see that your brain is growing in those areas based off of your exercise. And there were so many studies that I read where people were just like, this group is not going to exercise, this group is going to exercise for 6 weeks. And like, boom, the results were super, what they say, like significant. Like they're measurable and like you can see the actual difference. And I thought that was really fascinating that, you know, it's not just your mood and like self-report, right? Self-report's a little risky sometimes, right? It's like, oh yeah, I feel better. Yeah, like the results are good. Like your study worked. But it's like, if I can see it on a CT scan, I'm on board.
It's actually working.
Yeah.
There's physical changes happening.
Yeah. And then there was also the white matter of our brain, which is like the other parts, which is like connecting and transmitting neurosignals. And I know we talked a little bit about melanation earlier.
Right.
And that's really like that muscle control, that decision making, and that self control, and those like reflexes and things like that. And we know that improves when we exercise as well. Of like, I'm just more reactive and I'm prepared.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
One thing I noticed, I think it's kind of correlated to that. It's like there's lots of times where like I'll be like, you know, going on a trail with my dog, or like I'll go and do something and it's like I'm almost gonna like trip or like roll my ankle, something happens, but it's like I feel like because like I'm so aware of moving and stability and coordination, all these different things, like neurologically, like I'm able to not roll my ankle. Like I haven't rolled my ankle since like
knock on some wood, dude.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
You want to turn the video off, just
where it's like literally, it's like you see some people like get out of their car and they're like, oh, like they're like all over the place, and it's like they have no awareness of
body awareness.
Yeah.
So the Talent Code, you guys should check it out. It's a good book. It's interesting. But they talk about how these people who continue to exercise, and you actually get better at making myelin sheath. Like it gets thicker faster the more that you do certain things. Like I feel
explain it again. People that I don't remember, but explain it again so everyone with myelin sheath.
Myelin sheath. So your cells in your brain, they have whatever, and then there's some connecting and stuff to the, I don't remember, like the synapse or something, and then myelin sheath is like, it's a conductor, right, to conduct the pulse to make it happen, right?
Okay.
So like, let's say for example, to do a snatch, you have, your myelin sheath is very thin, like that movement doesn't make any sense, and as you continue to do that movement, it gets thicker, it gets more efficient. So you don't have to think about it as much. It just happens. But so for that movement to happen, let's say you get really, really good. I mean, it's like the Talent Code talks about hotspots for sports, like people who are really good at soccer, people who are really good at this. So like in Brazil, they don't necessarily play soccer to get better at soccer. They play this indoor sport, which I don't know what it is. I don't know about soccer.
Futsal.
But it's with a smaller ball, a smaller goal.
Yeah.
What's it called? Futsal.
Yeah.
And because they have developed such, like, it's way more fast paced, it's a smaller target, etc., all of those things, their myelin sheath is so much thicker. So then when they come and play on like a big field with people who have not played this game, like everything's much faster. They can react faster, like etc., all those things. So when you develop that and the myelin sheath gets thicker and thicker, then when you do other things, it's a lot easier. Which CrossFit is like the best example of that, because you come in here and you do all these things, and then you go out and play a sport or do something, and someone shows you something, and you pick it up like this. Because you have already developed that. And it's like what we were talking about, when kids don't learn how to skip, they don't learn how to hop on one foot, etc. You can tell the people in the gym who never learned how to do simple tasks like hop on one foot, skip, etc., because they have a hard time picking up everything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, this is just something totally different, but I feel like a lot of times too, it's like, and once you get to such a late stage in your life where you have a lot of other obligations going on, it's like you have so much going on in your head that when you come for this hour, you're not soaking in as much as you would. Whereas like, again, you're a kid, you're learning things as a kid, it just comes, boom, you ride your bike, next day when you're a pro riding your bike, you do it every single day. Whereas like a lot of people come in here, like they come in for the hour, but they're like kind of like they're busy with work, this and that, and then again like, not necessarily with the, what's it called? Myelin sheath, but neurologically like building the coordination and the movement pattern, and it's like what's the heck that you do?
Yeah. Well, they don't play anymore, and I brought this up to a lot of people who are like, I want to be able to do muscle ups or handstands or get upside down. I tell them like, what did you do to get the monkey bars? did you do accessory work? Did you come in here and do grip work? You know, you're a kid chalking up doing pharma carries. It's like, no, you tried to do the monkey bars, you fell. You tried, you fell. And then you started to develop the grip strength to hold on from 1 to 2, then 1, 2, 3, and then you got across them, and then you skipped them, and then you went. And it's like, if you want to do anything ever, you have to play. You have to just try it. But people, as they get older, they lose like the ability to do that. And I know that we're talking about like neurological, whatever, like adaptations, whatever, like in CrossFit, but like those things happen still at the gym, and that's why I like CrossFit so much, is because people come in here and they have an opportunity to play. And if you miss that, you didn't have that earlier, like, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a really good video. I think it's called like the something playground or play. I'll find it and Huddy will link it down below. It's like this super old dude who has like a few acres of land, and he literally builds things for him to do to play. It'll be like a pole like this, and he'll like jump over it a few times, or he'll have like he put a bunch of bouncy balls together, and he'll like bounce it, try to catch. He'll try to like do something here and do something here, and you know, like continues to play, and it really shows. And like he's pretty old, but he's still able to do stuff that like we wouldn't even try. You know, like balancing on something and doing crazy stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely interesting, right? And it made me think of, as an adult, when was the last time you learned something new with your body?
Yeah.
We are so cerebral as adults. It's so much like, I mean, me in school, all I'm doing is just being pumped full of information, verbal, visual information, right? But it's only here where I'm challenged with something new with my body, right?
Yeah.
I remember the very first time I came into CrossFit for my on-ramp, whatever classes, and I was trying to learn the movement of a deadlift, and Alec Zerkenbach, he's like, you're thinking too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I'm trying to bend my knees and engage my hamstrings and go forward and use my, and like, he was just like, don't think so much, like just move it, like you'll get it. And deadlift is such a smooth movement when you can do it, because it's like, disengage your head and, like you're saying, just play and do it, and it makes sense. It's like, I'm totally comfortable upside down because I'm familiar, I remember that sensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were never given that in that period of development, then it's so hard to learn it as an adult. Your brain is already so fixed. It's really challenging.
Yeah, and you think you know your limits. I think that's a big problem.
Are people just afraid to, like, being upside down or things like that? Like, do they think that, like, I'm gonna fall on my face plant? Is that the concern typically, you think?
I think it's confidence. I think a lot of people also
Still,
rush.
because you're totally capable.
A lot of people
right?
rush to it very soon too.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Most people are capable. Some people will come in second day. Workouts, handstand push-ups. Yeah, let me. I want to kick up into one. No, let's do the modification, because you know you're a 200-pound person and you haven't pressed overhead in a couple of years. So let's kind of build
your shoulders.
Yeah.
Lots of thought. Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is play. Like if you want to kick up to a handstand and you haven't done it, it's like come to the gym and try it.
Yeah.
Or try it in the grass,
doing like dumbbell press is so different than like sitting
Actually,
upside down. Yeah. You know, if I want to do handstand push-up, it's just like so. Yeah, I completely agree.
We were talking about this the other day in one of our other podcasts. I think it was like number 8 or whatever, where we said we were talking about previous programs we followed, and he was talking about how like we were always doing dips. We were doing so many dips. Like every week we were doing dips, and he was like, you know, like, there's other things we can do to build pressing strength, get better at muscle ups, all this and that. But I'm like, yeah, definitely. Like we barely ever bench. Like our program barely ever calls for bench. My bench usually stays the same. If not, it progresses a little bit. So like it shows that like some people bench every single week for it to go up. I bench every 4 months, and it usually sustains. So it's like, if you want to get better at something, you can do a lot of variations to hit muscles a different way and all this different stuff. But it's like, if you want to get better at pull-ups, do more pull-ups.
Yeah.
It's the monkey bars situation.
Yeah.
When I do the monkey bars.
I completely agree. That probably explains why I suck at double unders.
Because you don't do them?
You ever jump rope?
I jump rope.
No double dutch?
But I don't.
I crush double dutch.
I'm great at singles. I just don't ever practice
Double unders.
So I suck at
Just gotta practice them. Gotta take the whips to the arms, straight to
I
the
know.
arms. Yeah.
I hate it.
That's a hard one.
That's like actual punishment.
Legit.
Like it's not just frustrating,
It also hurts.
Yeah.
Why am I bleeding?
I had a gym I had a guy at my very first gym I ever coached at, and he was an asshole. I didn't like him at all. I can't remember his name. All he was like, if I told you know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
He was like trying to go through firefighter school, and he was like short, like stubby guy. Like he was just an asshole, like mean, rude for no reason, and like he
got jacked.
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Oh.
the workout was like a mile run, 200 double unders a mile run. Our first gym was very lame program in my opinion. But like, so everyone came in on the mile run, and he's coming in the middle of the pack, and he's doing like 1, 2, 1, 3, and it's like I'm like, all right, try this, dude. And he's like this. I'm like, okay, well, you need to blah blah blah. And then like we get to like 35, and he's like, F this, and just chuck. We had a huge factory. It was like probably 3 times the size of this. He just chucks the ropes like up into the rafters and goes across the gym. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
Like you're supposed to play like a child, not literally act like a child. So it's funny how I don't know about that. Why did I bring that up?
I have no idea.
Jumping rope. It's
We're talking about double unders.
Oh yeah, double unders. Yeah. So.
I mean, I get that, right? Because he probably thought he was going to be really proficient at it, and then he kind of
Hashtag CrossFit. We all thought we were gonna be good, and then we started it.
Yeah. I know. I think about that sometimes. Like I was an athlete for so long, and I can't. I have a hard time with very basic movements. But that's. I mean, CrossFit is complex. It's not. They're not basic things. The snatch is insane. Like you're moving so much weight above your head in one very swift, fluid movement, and I think some people come in with all the confidence in the world.
Well, what I think a lot of people don't realize it either, which blows my mind and makes me laugh too, is they'll come in and it's like their first week and they come do extra work or something. They're doing a snatch. Like, can you watch my snatch? I'm like, yeah, let's try this. And I give them one thing, like, yeah, what else? I'm like, look, this movement, literally people live their entire lives making a living out of these 2 movements.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm not going to tell you one thing today and you're going to get it. I was like, 3 years from now, you're going to have 1,000 cues and you're going to get so much better, and there's still 1,000 things that you need to work on.
Yeah.
But they just want it like really, really quickly. Yeah.
That's true. You remember when we took 30 minutes to work on my snatch, when you offered like 30-minute private?
Mm-hmm.
And you just made me snatch until I couldn't, and add more weight progressively every time until I failed, right? And then you gave me one cue, which was the most important one that you've ever told me, was keep the bar, start the bar closer. And that was the only cue that he gave me, and that was the cue that made the difference, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't get up in my head, I didn't get all caught up in it, and then I was able to, I PR'd just literally sitting there after snatching at least 20 times in a row, and I was still able to put more weight over my head than I ever had, because you don't get wrapped up and you take that feedback and then just leave it at that, and then get different feedback another time, because you don't want to get too much.
Well, I keep bringing this back up, but like monkey bars, it's like legit. You did the monkey bars 20 times at least every single day. You just snatched 20.
Remember that.
You switched. You snatched 20 times. Like that was just your play for the day.
Yeah.
But you looked at it as exercise. You're just playing, and then you try something different.
Right.
And you got a little bit better.
Right. Yeah.
So
And I think one thing that now that you mention like you absorb a lot of things, verbally and visually throughout like your day, and as you learn, as you work, this and that. And so one thing I think that we do pretty well at our gym is that like, all right, say we have snatches for the strength. All right, guys, tag your bar, high pull, looks like this. Go, and we have you guys do the movement, so you get a feel for it, and you're warming up everything, and then from there it's like, okay, we're doing every minute, and we're doing 5 sets, whatever, go on your own pace, and then we come around and help you guys individually. Versus like, all right, guys, the snatch was created back in 1872, where so it's like simplicity, and then building the base, and then you work from there. So I feel like that's one thing that we were crushing that helps people.
Absolutely.
Grasp better.
I completely agree. And that reminds me of, and maybe I just thought of this and maybe it's wrong, but we throw around the term muscle memory a lot. I don't think it's not your body that knows, it's your brain, right? And so by you guys progressively warming us up in that way, you're getting our brain activated so it knows what to expect, and it's like, okay, it's digging, it's like, I've done this before, I know this, I know what I'm getting to, right?
And you know what a good one feels like and what a bad one feels like.
Right, and so if I went straight into it, maybe I'd be semi-successful, but if my brain is getting activated and warmed and tuned to this idea, then I don't, I'm not going 0 to 100, I need to build.
It's just like with anything. That's why people who don't warm up are missing out on a lot of, quality of training, because people, like let's take Fran for example, people are like, oh, I need to save my energy because I'm going to go so hard. Where in fact you need to take your body through like the same physiological response before, so that you're able to, just like you were saying, if we're here and we deal with sympathetic nervous system the entire time, and then when we experience that, we're already ready for it, that's what your warm-up should be. Your warm-up should be taking you through how you're going to feel. So it's like when you're warming up for something like Fran, it's something that's so intense, you should be getting your heart rate as high as you're going to get it, or close. You should be breathing really hard. You should be doing fast transitions. You should be doing pull-ups and thrusters and seeing how you feel. And then you cool down, and then you do it because your body just went through it. It knows what to expect. It knows where to push the blood, where to go, what you need to do, and how to react.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I didn't think about that way.
So make sure you warm up, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, children.
Yeah.
Before you go on the monkey bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
Absolutely.
shoulder circles.
I mean-
anything.
Rub it even. Yeah. Cool.
Kids are smarter than us. They do things mostly correct and playing and getting better, and